but there's a lot of people who do not like performances. They feel like it breaks the flow of the milonga, right? It's like
wherever you have more of one role, those are the people that typically are working harder because they have to.
But he was like, if you weren't invited, is that even a place that you want to be?
Yeah.
Jon, can you see my beautiful Squidward socks?
Let me double check.
Melody has inspired me to wear really
A
cool
little higher,
socks.
a little higher.
Higher? There?
There we go. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, while we were recording, Jon is actually behind the scenes, like managing the feeds from the multiple cameras that you see.
Making sure that we look good, that we sound good.
Yes, that we're not like suddenly in our mic.
I know he especially likes when I go very close and I say, because. He's already got the headphones on, poor guy.
All right, should we get to business?
Yeah,
let's get to business.
Wait.
Today, we're talking about
marathons.
Marathons.
And marathon likes.
Culture.
The culture of everything else that's not milongas.
Yes, and how it impacts the local community.
Because that's what we care about, the community.
It is, yes.
That's why we do this. Okay, so marathons. We have...
Okay, so, what is a marathon? I think some people might not know.
Okay.
All right, so...
Oh, I thought you were looking at me to answer that.
Go for it. Go for it. Marathons and what types exist?
It's like it's an event that's typically focused on just dancing. So, I think historically, obviously you have milongas. And then you have that kind of, from milongas, we expand into festivals, right? Or maybe around the same time. I don't know the origins of tango like that. And so you have invited guests. You might have invited orchestras. It's big, it's grand, it's about learning and meeting people, yada, yada, yada. Then marathons came onto the scene, and that was all about just dancing, pure dancing all weekend long, usually highlighting really, really good DJs, ideally. And it's like in the beginning, we used to actually be more marathon like. So it was like, you're dancing from noon until like
5 a.m.
the evening, and then maybe a little bit of a break, and then you're dancing until like 5 a.m. And so you just had very little sleep. And I think over time, people were like, we need our sleep.
Yeah.
So now we have like afternoon, milongas and evening marathons, and it ends a little earlier now, 2 to 3 a.m. And then we also have encuentros. So I'm sorry. So with marathons, typically they can be very open, or
open
a lot
of public.
Times,
anybody can register.
Anybody can register. The registration opens when it's published.
Yes, and let's say usually role balanced, although in my experience, not always role balanced.
Right. Typically in another city, so lots of people. I think what we feel like it's getting a bunch of good dancers from all around the country in one room versus like in separate communities.
Let's say a bunch of dancers. Let's remove that
perception.
Sure.
The perception has been to get a bunch of good. Okay, we'll get into that. You're right.
Okay. And dancing, it was Friday to late night Sunday. Yeah. But now there are marathons that go 5 days.
I don't know if those are some marathons. Those are like, I like how like when Ramu calls it tango holiday, because it's like it's a holiday. It's like a 6-7 day event, and you don't attack it with the same fervor as a marathon. You pace it out. Actually,
it's more leisurely.
Actually, it is more of a marathon than I guess. Actually, I think marathons are actually sprints.
Oh, okay.
And these longer events are real marathons.
True, because you have to pace yourself. That's true. That's apt. Okay.
And so sprint like marathons. Okay. And they started off open, at least to our knowledge, and then it just became more obvious that more of them are becoming more private and let's say exclusive.
So invitation. You have to be invited.
Right. And it was
to be in a specific private group.
Right. And usually it's like you'd hear about it because maybe people talked about it, but it wasn't ever published.
Or a big group of your friends would be like, oh, no, we're going to be out of town for blah, 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 blah. And I was like,
oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And then you started to have these supposedly open marathons, which really filled up most of their slots before being announced.
So there would be 5 spots open to the public.
And then you open a few, and then you say, oh, it's open, and then all of a sudden it closes very quickly. Then we also have encuentros, which I've never been to one, so I can't speak intelligently about one, but I think it's meant to be a subset of a marathon-like experience with just more, maybe
Intimate.
more intimate, more calm, more slower paced, maybe more expectations to be in closer embrace,
Yeah.
maybe doing less things on the dance floor,
Traditional, yeah.
more traditional feeling, more maybe even more inclusive.
And I think with the expectation, the music is also more traditional
More
too.
traditional, right? Yeah. So we have a whole slew of these things, and now the question is, firstly, what are those experiences like? Why do people love them so much? And then also, why do people not like them so much?
Yeah. Well, and can we touch on the history of marathons in the US?
Sure.
Because I find this really interesting and it'll inform some of our later conversation. And that when I started, festivals were the thing.
Yeah.
You went to the festivals, you took the classes, you danced at the milongas. The milongas went late. They went till like 4 a.m. and there were still practicas. So like really if you wanted to treat a festival like a marathon, you could.
Just go to
Although
the
your
milongas.
friends, yeah, you would just go to the milongas and the practicas, but your friends might be coming in and out with classes as well. But then marathons started, it was 2014, right? They really started and took hold around that time in the US. And what happened is people decided, oh no, I like this. And they stopped supporting festivals. And
Yeah. Died.
festivals are expensive.
Right.
Marathons are
Much
not.
cheaper, right? At the time.
Yes. Well, and so festivals died. A lot of
Right.
festivals died.
I think also too there was that moments where, and it happens, it comes and goes, right? Where there wasn't that interest in taking classes as much. And so organizers were like, I'm putting all this money into bringing these teachers and then
'Cause it's
nobody's
expensive.
taking the classes.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a gamble, right? Because visiting teachers cost money and like there's a commitment on the organizers whether or not those workshops book up or whether or not that festival books up. And I know personally of an organizer that actually lost money in a festival because people just didn't
Right.
come. My personal opinion is that festival organizers do a great service to our community, that they bring educators that we don't normally have access to. They're giving us a space to then like put the miles
And a
in.
more
as we're
cultural
learning.
experience too. If you have
Absolutely.
or maybe a
Live
orchestra, maybe you
orchestras.
have.
Yeah.
I think there was also there was a moment where I particularly don't like this line of thinking, but there's a lot of people who do not like performances. They feel like it breaks the flow of the milonga, right? It's like, why are we going to stop, listen to announcements, watch these people perform for us? It's not like they're going to dance like they're dancing socially. Clearly, you can see how I feel about this. And then they feel like it takes up a good half an hour, 40 minutes of the milonga, and then now they only have so little time to dance, right? So if you have an opportunity to just dance straight through the night, no interruptions, all of a sudden that became, for those types of people, very interesting.
Yeah.
I will say there's one thing that probably another perspective, and this is just Amanda's perspective, right? I imagine when you have teachers at a milonga, it changes the dynamic in the milonga.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's looking towards the
peacocking.
teacher and peacocking and or just very nervous and it creates a different vibe. Sometimes I watch a performance and I'm like, I don't need to dance now because that was just my soul.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, in a humorous way. And so in a way you kind of remove that dynamic in a marathon setting. So I think that was also at one point probably really enticing for folks.
Yeah. And they were cheaper.
Of course,
They were
and they were
cheaper.
cheaper. And
Yeah.
it was more likely that you were going to see more of your friends in one setting than not. Because for the same 5 friends, maybe I'll see 1 or 2 of them at a different festival. But for a marathon, we all came together in the same place.
Yeah. Okay, so we've established what they are, a little bit of the history behind them. So how are they impacting
Well,
tango culture?
let's talk about how what the marathon culture
Okay.
sort of ended up becoming first, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think over time now you have, whether it was intended or not, let's just say the exclusivity nature of tango really became heightened in
Because of
marathon,
the invitation. Yeah.
especially as it became more invitation, as people started to curate who was coming, whether it was based on skill or personality, it was still curated towards a certain atmosphere that meant excluding people. it became the perception of it being as a place where all these high level dancers are all going to. I know of some, like there was one that I was enticed to go to in Europe where it was like, I know professionals are going to be there, and they're there in a social capacity, not as teachers. And that was interesting just to get to see them on that level. And so then you end up having, and then the more marathons you had in the year, I could go to a marathon once or twice a month, and that would sustain me for that whole month. It was almost like this little secret adventure that I had. And at the time I was in grad school. So I would like run away for a weekend to a marathon, 3 days of intense craziness, and come back and just live off of the high for weeks. And then I go to my next one, and I come back and I could focus on work. And it's okay if I didn't dance throughout the week because I knew the next marathon was coming next month. And so for me, that worked out perfectly because I was in a very small, I've always been in small towns. I was in West Lafayette, I was in Akron, Ohio, even in Boulder, right? Like there wasn't enough weekly social activities. And so marathons became my social activities that was more affordable.
Yeah.
I can, however, see for people who lived in cities where there were many other, like New York or DC, the big cities around the country, right? They start going to marathons, they stop going to milongas.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
You also start to feel this. Typically, you're in a room where there's more people, let's say, that you want to dance with, regardless of whatever your experience is. And then you go back to your local milonga, and there's fewer people in the space that you would really love to dance with because your local milongas are just much more mixed. And I could see, I think there was a moment where it started to suck the life out of the local milongas. I don't know if you guys, I know you guys might have stopped the marathon train for a while, but
yeah, so I was on the marathon train for a while before John and I met. And actually the weekend we started dating, I was at a festival. This is the weekend we started dating, but I'm crazy. So I would go to the marathon, I would dance the entire time, and I would come back and go to the milonga that night. Like like there's a reason I danced every single
you weren't
night.
kidding.
Like I was not kidding. Put my kids to bed, go dance, right? So yes, but I do feel when there is a marathon or an event happening that is somewhere in the adjacent area or here directly, 100% it impacts the local milongas. Then it's like, okay, well, I would really love to dance, but are there going to be people there that would like to dance with me? So then it's like, oh, do we bother even going out? But I mean, even keep in mind, sometimes organizers actually cancel their events because there just won't be enough people there. It's like, can you have a milonga with 20 people? Maybe in Ithaca you can. But
shots fired, John.
He sent me pictures of his milongas.
20 people would have been a good day.
Oh, sorry.
No, but like it really does impact the local scene. I think also this was the big thing in the shift from festivals to marathons, is that festivals encourage a culture of learning and marathons encourage a complacency. I think marathons, if you're putting all of your energy only into social dancing, 20 years in, you can keep learning. 20 years in, you can keep taking classes and working on your dance. And if we're like, I'm good enough, I get the dance, I'm fine. I think it encourages complacency.
I agree and disagree. More than disagree than agree.
Okay.
So yes, festivals encourage learning from particular people with very specific, broad, but very like, this is what they do, right? And you learn from them. Me, marathons were my training grounds. That's where I went to go put into practice what I would learn. Because I would dance with 20 different leaders over the whole, I mean, definitely more probably over the weekend, right?
Yeah.
And so, and especially sometimes you dance with the same people multiple times. So you have more times to keep iterating with them and figuring out, oh, this is how they lead. Whenever I feel this, that's what that means. Okay. So literally I would train in marathons because I had enough time to practice different things to see what worked as a follower and now more so as a leader. So for me, that was the only way because I didn't have a space to practice. Not really.
But you were practicing from education you'd already received. And I'm saying that I think
Yes and no.
marathons took away a
Yes
lot of
and no.
educational
Yes and no. I
opportunity.
was also practicing from, it wasn't also, yes, it was, let's say I took a class or a private and they said I need to have this posture, so I would practice this posture. But it was also this type of leader, this is the signals that they send. Let me see if I can figure out how they communicate. It was also about me learning how other leaders communicate and how to react when they communicate. If they do this, then I do that. So it was half and half. That's why I say I agree and I also disagree. I don't know if everybody had that mindset, but that was my mindset. So for me, it was a no-brainer to go to a marathon.
Interesting.
I
Interesting.
exponentially grew going to marathons.
Okay, but I want to put a little bit of background too. Okay, when this is happening, this shift is happening, there was another thing happening in DC in particular. We were follow heavy. Okay. So I think traditionally, like wherever you have more of one role, those are the people that typically are working harder because they have to, right? Because they're like, I have to get better, so people want to dance with me, right? If there were more leads, it would be leads. So there were more followers. So I think that generally the follows already had an incentive to be learning. And then I actually think like there's been a shift, like we have more leads now.
But also because we have more followers leading.
So we have more followers leading. So now like the leads have to be a little bit more on their toes. I think there's still a bit of an imbalance actually, but it's not as bad as it was. So I think there's also that viewpoint too. It's like, and not everybody's as crazy as I was and like constantly taking classes and going to marathons and continually dancing. But I will still maintain that I think the shift away from having as many educational opportunities available to us and leaning into marathon culture. Generally, I think marathon culture is fine. I love a good marathon, but I think generally it can hurt the local community.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I was just having a conversation with someone about this. Let's just for a moment. I think there's several layers, right? You have a large, let's say a good number of people. Actually, to be honest, okay, okay, so there's one world in which you have 10 to 20% of the community that leaves for marathons, right? And so I don't think it's usually a lot from the same community. It's a smaller portion within each community. So it's not like they're hurting the numbers per se as much. But if you're already a small milonga, 10 to 20% can't hurt the numbers, right?
Unless it's a local one that is open. If it's a local marathon, right, then I think a large number of the local dancers will go.
Exactly. Yes. So you already have these group of people that leave. They're probably having this fantastic experience that's maybe sustaining them. Maybe they don't feel the motivation anymore to come out to local milongas. So it already takes away from people. Those are people who could have been community builders. Those are people who could have been engaging with people and making people feel welcome, or maybe not, right? Maybe there are people who wouldn't already, so maybe it's better that
That's true. Yeah.
But also 10 to 20% of that number will probably also be some of the higher level dancers in that community.
Yes.
So you also don't have your full pipeline present at any given time. You have maybe a milonga that's mostly newer or not, let's say, the highest level of dancing for that community. So you lose a sense of that thing to aspire to. This was the conversation that I had with the person. So it's like when you go to your milonga and you see this really good dancer, like, oh, I want to be like this person, right? And maybe that person can also dance with others and they feel what that feels like, and then they have something to aspire to.
Yeah.
And you take that away, and it also like sucks out like growth potential in the milonga. So you have, yes, on one hand, fewer people going to milongas, but you also have this lack of more talented dancers, let's say, going to the milongas and helping to pull up and to the extent that they maybe would have, assuming that they would have, because there's people who just only come for what they want and they leave and they don't actually give back.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
we would take them out of the equation. So I think it had a huge impact, and I know lots of people, especially I have a challenge with this one. I know a lot of people in Argentina really despise the marathon culture. Because it creates a sense of exclusivity. It takes away from the milongas. My counter to that is, given I haven't been to Argentina, so take it with a grain of salt, but from what I hear, the Argentinian culture is a marathon culture because you can dance literally
Yeah.
every single day until 7 in the morning. So you already have
You already
access
have
to
it.
that.
Sure.
In other places like
Oh,
here,
but you can go. You don't have to be invited. So
oh,
there's
absolutely.
like,
We're not even talking about the closed events yet. Just like
Yeah.
open
Yeah.
marathons where you might go to, like you have access to it all the time. It would be insane to have a marathon in Buenos Aires. It's like just go there and stay there for a week.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
already a
So
whole
Buenos
holiday.
Aires is a marathon.
It is a
It is many
marathon.
marathons
Right.
happening at one time. Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So I can see why the need flourished in other countries. I don't think there's anything wrong with it flourishing. I just think we need to intentionally make sure we're giving back to our local communities. I think we can
Yeah.
coexist. I don't think we need to get rid of marathons. I just think we need to make everybody aware that the impact of marathons actually might be damaging our local communities, and therefore we need to start being more intentional about being present in our local communities and try to balance both.
Yes. Yes. And I think you touched on a really important point. So, like, when you go to a marathon, especially an invite only, people are typically less guarded, right? Because they're like, oh,
Right.
these people have been pre screened
Right.
for me, right? So they're more open to dancing with people that they haven't met. And they're having these experiences maybe that are better than
Right.
they've ever had before, right? And they come back to their local scene and they're like, oh, nothing's going to touch that. Why am I going to dance with anyone? So if you go into it with this mindset, well, one, your local community is never going to get there because you're like, I'm hot stuff now. Why would I dance with anybody else, right? How are they ever going to grow?
Right.
And if they do, you're not going to know. You're not dancing with
Because you're
them,
not there.
right? Yeah. So it's like I agree with that. I think that there's like the balance is you continue to engage with your local community. That is how we make tango grow. And I know there's some people that are very outspoken about growing the local community. And that's like we're putting in time and effort to try to get people into the local scene. And I really hope our students don't just run off and only start dancing around the world and never dancing
And
here.
never come back again.
Never come back.
I
Like,
think we build enough of a home family here
I
that they'll
hope
always come
so.
back.
I hope so.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think can we say his name? The note that we got from
Oh, I think
Greg?
so. Yeah.
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 Yeah, so
Yeah.
we had someone who was very kind enough to send us a
Yes.
nice like their take on the whole scene, and it was really eye-opening just to see another
Mhm.
perspective. And this is someone who has been dancing for well over a decade
Yes.
and has been to a variety, including
Mhm.
encuentros. And it was interesting, to your point a little bit. He calls this group of people the risk averse group.
Yes.
Right. So
Yeah.
if you might,
Yeah.
and I prefer to use this word. Some others might call them cool kids.
Yeah.
I think we need to have another conversation. Let's put this on the docket
We will talk
about
about
what
cool
that means.
kids.
But I love his framing of risk averse, meaning you're less likely to be open to dancing with people that maybe you don't know whether or not you would like dancing with them.
Yeah.
And so, of course, like you said, those folks going to marathons, they found their place because, especially the closed, maybe now we can talk about the more private marathons
Yes.
that are curated for a certain type of people. And if you're one of those people and you're risk averse, you already know you're in a space that more than likely
More than likely.
higher percentage of folks you're gonna like. And so it's like, let's say you go to one of those cream of the crop invite only events,
Mhm.
you're more likely to say yes if you've never seen the person before because you're like, that was the standards to come in.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And now that you've experienced that, what's your motivation for going back to your local milongas? It's, very much
Yes.
limited.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky one.
Yeah. Well, okay. One, technically, it could give people something to aspire to. So let's say there's a pro there. Sure.
Well, can I jump in here
Yeah.
real quick if
Maybe.
you don't mind? So I wanted to play a devil's advocate a little bit here.
Yeah.
Having started tango in a small community, whenever there was a festival or a marathon that we wanted to go to, it became a little bit of an event. And we talked about how you build community in the extracurriculars. And this is kind of a way
True.
where we were all hyping each other up. It was like, oh, we're gonna go to this thing. We're carpooling. We're getting our Airbnb together,
Mm.
and we're going into this thing where we're all probably individually feeling a little bit intimidated by this idea of going into a room where we're expecting a whole ton of really high level dancers, But knowing we're going into it together made it much easier to, swallow, much easier to face. So from that perspective, and then also like between individual events, going out to eat together and doing all these things together, helped build a sense of community, especially on the drive back. We're talking about all the different things that happened, and
Sure.
then
But that's okay. That's a festival or an open marathon, though.
yes, absolutely.
You're not going with a group of people at a close. Maybe you're the
No.
only one from your community that's going
Yeah.
to be
Yeah. Or
represented.
like one or two of
Yeah.
your group,
Yeah.
but the other people.
Do we think that it's that bad?
Hmm.
Are private closed events bad? Is it bad for an organizer, whatever bad
No.
means, to choose selectively who they want at an event?
No.
Does that
is it
hurt
bad? No.
the community?
Okay. I think it can inspire drama, so we can sit down with our popcorn
Not
and
just
read the
inspire,
drama.
create,
It creates the
foster,
drama.
fester it.
Yes. I think thinking about the events that I've been to, there's always some drama around them. There's always some drama around like, oh, so and so wasn't invited. Why was this person but not that person? And
Mhm.
there's always some like, well, that person was just invited because they're attractive, not because they're a good dancer. Or like there's a lot of judgment thrown. And I'm just like, whatever. Do I care? No, not really. Like, was I invited? No. Like there's an event that I've been invited to many years and then I haven't been invited to. And I'm like, well, whatever. It doesn't matter.
I think Greg put this so nicely, but I already forgot it. I'm going to butcher the way he said it.
Okay.
But he was like, if you weren't invited, is that even a place that you want to be?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
And
where you
maybe that's not a
want it.
place that you would have enjoyed anyway. And
Mhm.
so he kind of goes into the spaces where he already feels a sense of welcoming and belonging. And his focus is making that experience great and making the people that he danced with their experience great. And if down the line, and either maybe it's because he doesn't meet their standards, or maybe he hasn't made the right connections yet to get on their radars to even be invited. In either way, if he's invited, then cool. And if he's not, he still has other spaces to go to.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, I think an organizer it's their events, right? You can choose
do
to
whatever they want.
have a private, highly exclusive, curated event.
Mm.
I don't think there's anything truly wrong with that. It's like if I want to have a house party, I'm going to invite the people that I want in my house.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of other events that are open.
Mhm.
The only caveat is us as dancers, whatever events we choose to leave and travel to, let's just make sure we come back home.
Yes, come back home, reinvest in the community. And I do appreciate, like thinking of Ramu, right? Marathon season, invite only. But I see that he tried to balance with Tango Holiday that it was like, okay, you have to have a local person sponsoring you, right? So it's like, okay, we have room for local, we have
He
room.
created a separate event to balance
Exactly.
that.
Yeah. And I can appreciate that. I guess I used to care about invite events and if I was invited. I don't really go to marathons anymore because give me 8 more years and then maybe I'll think about it. No, give me 10 more years and then I'll think about it again. But like, we don't have bandwidth. It's not something we desire. So, I mean, it's something you do. Do you care?
I'm going to one. Oh, invite only. Oh.
Do you care? How does it feel? Do you feel anything if somebody else is like, oh, I'm going to this and it was invite only? Are you like, what? I wasn't invited?
No, because I feel very happy and confident and secure where I am right now. That if I'm not invited, there are other places that I know that I'm really going to enjoy.
Yeah.
So I actually don't mind. I remember, oh my God, I was at an event and I danced with someone. Or rather, I don't know if I danced with them or they saw me dancing and they're like, wow, I had thought about inviting you to this encuentro that I organized, but like I just thought you were just like this crazy dancer in a sense, like I was just doing all these crazy things.
Oh.
But then he saw me dancing with someone who was like maybe a little bit more
More
contained, and he was like,
yeah.
I think I would totally consider it. And I was like, oh well,
Oh,
thank you for
okay.
now
Okay.
thinking about me.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Yeah.
with that personality now, thank God you didn't.
Yeah.
Thank you for saving me from having to say no to you.
Okay, well, so here's the other piece of this, the invite only thing. So I'm not one for social maneuvering. I'm like, if people if I can tell people are trying to be my friend because they're trying to get something, that actually like makes me bristle, right? And there is a piece of this where people develop friendships to socially maneuver because they're like, now I'm going to be able to be invited.
Right.
And there's an inauthenticity to that I don't like. So probably for me, like being able to talk about it, I'm like, I would rather just not go. Like,
Yeah.
I would rather have authentic relationships
Yeah.
than ones that are geared toward getting something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I would hope too that people can see that and sense the inauthenticity and be like, I see that. Like you can tell when someone's trying hard, and that actually puts you off if you're the person in charge of the invitations. Let's say
sometimes. I don't think
because
always.
some of these, the thing is, I know I admit there's an event that I used to go to very regularly once a year, and not only was it invite only, it was like, and maybe this is how other invite events are, but you get like a little background check. So to the point where today, although I don't go as much, but I used to go a lot, I get asked to confirm,
Oh,
hey, this person
you need
wants to come. You need references, right?
Wow.
Especially, I mean, if they don't
Wow.
know you from anywhere, they'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, this person might be in your area. What do you know about them? Are they generally okay? They're good with navigation. It's those kinds of questions. Like, is this like a wild card, or is this like someone that you know would love to be in the space? And
Yeah.
so I'm just, there is that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And
Interesting. Okay. There's something because we're getting our warning
Already?
here. We're getting our warning. Okay.
Time flew
There
by
is something we didn't talk about. Because like we're talking a lot about marathon culture, but I really think it's like US marathon culture.
Mhm.
Because I think European marathon culture is very different because they've found a way to balance festivals, marathons, and encounters.
You
They
mean the
have all
quantity,
three.
the variety of
Quantity.
things.
You
Okay.
have options. The other thing that they do that I haven't really seen replicated here is at a lot of marathons, even if it's invite only, they have a day that's open to the public. And they say it's open to the public.
Like a Saturday night or something.
So then, like, their community can benefit from having people. So, like, I don't know this Saturday night. I feel like it's usually like toward the end of the marathon.
I don't
So,
know what to feel
like,
about that. I feel like
yeah.
if you're gonna have, there's a reason why you had it invite only. Then just keep it invite only. Don't make it seem like, okay, well now we can open up to you guys if you want to come enter the space. Like no, then open it up. Period.
I don't know
Why? Why have that one night? Is it because you want to appease the community? So then it's not really because you think it's beneficial for the type of event you're having.
Maybe, I mean, it could be both. It could be like that you know that you have local dancers that don't have bandwidth for a full marathon, right? Like I mean here
That's not why you're not inviting people.
No. I think one, like you're inviting people because the space is limited. Ultimately, you can't have in a space that fits 200, 1,000 people, right? And you can't be like, well, you can come on this day and you can come on this day, right? I think that if you know it's going to be winding down a little bit so that it's going to naturally open up space, then opening up to the public is okay.
But if the whole point of having a private event was to bring curated people, it doesn't make sense all of a sudden now to open it up because you're gonna have fewer people on this one day. Like it just for me logically.
I haven't been.
Be consistent.
I haven't been.
Is what I'm saying.
Oh, I don't think so. I think there might be a room. So maybe if you're listening,
I'm only good enough for one day to come to your event. Oh, thank you. Then let me come the whole time. If I was good enough, then I should have been able to come the whole time. And if it's not about me being good enough, then why is it closed to me coming? To me registering.
Do you know that I know of an instance where there was an invite-only event and then there was some space, but there were positions offered to people that were like, well, you can volunteer and pay the admission and I'll let you come.
What? What do you want? That's not volunteer then.
No.
I'm confused.
No, they were like, okay, that's the only way you can come. That's leveraging
so that's a different thing, right? That's like, hey, I want to have this private event, but I might suffer financially, so I need to find a way to supplement that, and that I don't think is a good thing either. So that's why I don't see any scenario that would make sense logically and consistently to have that special day open.
I don't know. Maybe we need to ask people about their experience. I want to know from people that have been to just those open to public days.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, festivals do it. You can get a pass and some of the events are not open to the public. And then like usually the Grand Milonga is, right? At a higher price point. So that's the other thing is that, yes, marathons are cheaper, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily cheap. I mean, it's still usually more expensive. We're lucky in DC. We
Flying
can
there.
dance Friday, Saturday, Sunday here, right? We could create a marathon a lot of weekends
Right.
here in DC
Oh, with just the local.
with just our
milongas, yeah.
local milongas, but it is still more expensive to go to a marathon.
How about that as being a solution? Can we have more intentional local marathons in the sense? If we know it's like a Friday Bulin, a Saturday Abrazo, a Sunday Cosecha, because those are the three things that I know about. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that becomes a marathon weekend for this month. Like that could be a cool way to still have that like vibe of dancing and
I would like that, but what we found is that when it's stacked, people pick and choose. They pick and choose. They go to one or two,
right, but that's
and
what I'm
not
saying.
all
It's
three.
a marathon. It's not
Yeah.
just going to 3 milongas.
Yeah. Well, then
Because
we
if
got to
you
be
think
in.
that's 3 milongas,
Yeah.
then it's like meh. But those organizers should consider having a very nice 3-day marathon package.
That's not a bad idea. And then remember that price conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Exactly. See
All
where I'm
right.
going?
All right. Other milonga
wanna design
organizers.
messages, by the
Other
way, so-
milonga organizers. We got to chat. We got to chat. All right. I think John, you wanted to add something here.
Oh no, I was gonna say we should cut, and then we don't want to give out good ideas.
Whoops.
All right. Yeah. Well, we have more to talk about. I want people's feedback. I do want people's
On
feedback,
this.
especially
I'm curious to hear the
experience
folks
dancing in other places.
and the folks who do get invited for that one day. How does that make you feel? And do you care? And do you appreciate it?
But it's just open. It's not invited for the one day. It's everybody.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
ones who do
Oh,
go. Sorry.
that don't
That's-
get invited. Do they want to support?
Right. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The ones that weren't invited to the events, but because it's open on this day, do you still go?
Do they go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want to know about that. My hunch is that they do. My hunch is they're like, oh, all these people are in from out of town. I'm going to go. Even if I'm like, oh, I wasn't invited. So, yeah. Yeah. Share your opinions. Share if you think marathons hurt the community.
Rather.
Or
I'm sorry,
help.
one last thing.
Yeah.
If that's the case, if you're opening it up a day truly because you want to bring the community, expose the community to this broader group of dancers, then have a day of your marathon. Maybe it's the first day of Thursday or Monday or whatever. And you say, hey guys, we're going to like explode, and maybe a Thursday or a Monday, because you know there's fewer people. We're all gonna go to this other milonga before the marathon actually starts. Now you're supporting the local community in some sense, right? It's not
True.
like you're bringing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that to me makes sense if you truly care about people,
Yeah.
and you still wanted to have a private event.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All
Just
right.
saying.
All right. Maybe that's one.
Just saying.
Yeah.
But what do
All
I know?
right. Okay. Well, I think we're good for today.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
We're
You mean
good.
for right now, because we still have another episode to record.
Get in the comments.
Yeah. Get in the comments, like, subscribe, share, all of that stuff. Help other people see this.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. All right. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thanks for tuning in to Staying Grounded. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and spread the word. We'll catch you next time.